So this is the second method for getting a mask for this gorilla. As you can see, it's quite a busy photo. The background is quite intrusive, and the difficulty is that we've got fur on the ape, which is actually, well, it's furry, and we need to be able to handle that somehow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that layer, either by going to the layer menu and choosing duplicate layer, or layer via copy, dragging it down onto the new layer button, or Control J in this case. What I want to do now is I want to try and get a better contrast between the colours. And so to do this, what I'm going to do is choose the selective colour adjustment layer and choose the yellows. We know the foliage has a lot of yellow in there. And I'm going to pull the black slider all the way down to the left. We'll choose the green channel and do the same thing for the greens. And you can see this has made this lighter. Then we'll choose the cyans, and this time we're going to move that black slider all the way to the right. And we'll do the same thing for the blues. So now we've got something which might give us a better chance of getting a mask out of this. So the next thing I want to do, because masks are black and white, I want to turn this layer black and white. So I'll do this by adding a gradient map on this. And I'll make sure that I choose in here the basics. I'm going to choose white to black, which is the first gradient in here. And this has given me, this really weird looking view. I'm going to select these first 3 layers, and we're going to flatten this layer to give us just a black and white image. And this is going to become the basis for my mask. So let's do a levels adjustment in here, and let's try and see what we can do. So let's try and brighten up the ape, and we'll try and darken down certain parts of the image. Now it looks to me like the best part of the image for the fur is actually in black, so we'll invert this photo, and this gives us something akin to what we had in part 1 of this video, but this is a truly black and white photo. There were very little greys in this. So we're going to do what we did before. We're going to grab a white brush, and we're going to paint inside the gorilla. Let's just up my flow. I'm going to make the gorilla white. Just reduce the size of this so we can get more accurate up here. I'm not going to be worried about getting super accurate at the minute, because it's something that we can fix later, but I do want to get most of this done. Okay, and what I now need to do obviously is to darken down the background, so we'll invert the colour on the brush, and now we will just paint with black. Try and get as much of this as we can. Just reduce the size of the brush, and I'm just going to paint in here. And here's a tip for you. If you want to see how this is looking, let's just change this to screen. And that will give us then a better idea to see where we might need to do some more work. So I'm just going to reduce the size of this brush a little bit more. And we'll just come into there. Let's paint this. Nope, didn't want to do that because I've just got a bit of the fur. But we will paint in here just a little bit. I'm just going to paint up there. Let's disable this just to see. Let's just get around there. So I'm trying to get this looking as good as I can at this stage. I've just got a little bit in here. And so we'll drop the flow down again. And we might drop the opacity down. And we're just going to click in here just to I think that's a pretty good starting point for us. So this is going to give me a mask. What we will do actually is I'm just going to reverse, go back to white again, and we're just going to paint in here. Let's put my flow, so my opacity back up again. Yeah, that's all. This is all ape. Okay, so this has given me something that I'm going to use as a mask. So let's go back to this layer. We'll duplicate that layer again, and then we'll copy this, put it on the clipboard. I'm going to add a mask, and then we will paste that into the mask. So if I now disable this layer, and we can disable that layer, we can see we're getting close to getting a decent mask on the ape. So again, I'm going to select my brush, let's push my flow back up a bit, and we'll just touch this up a bit where we might have missed some stuff. Okay. So I'm confident we've got a mask here which is going to work. Now I'm going to apply this mask again, because what I want to do is I want to get an image without the ape. But before I do that, I need to invert this, because I want to keep the background, because the background is what we're going to blur. So we will apply this mask, and to see what this looks like, it now looks like this. And we will go into, well, what we're going to do here. We select the clone tool. Let's undo that. Let's make sure we come down here, select the clone tool. As I said before, we don't need to worry too much about whether things line up in here. As long as we don't have any straight edges, we'll be fine. Just clone that. Let's get rid of that. And we'll get rid of those two up there. Like so. And now we will blur this. Again, we'll keep the same thing that we had last time. I'm going to add a mask to it. Let's just re-enable this bottom layer. We'll add a mask. And then we'll go into here. Control A, Control C. Select the mask. Control V. And now, yes, what I need to do is obviously invert that mask. And now we can see where we need to just touch things up a bit on the mask. So with a black brush, I'm just going to go around here and just tidy some of these edges up where it looks a little funky. Now obviously you'd want to spend more time on this if you're doing this for real. You know, you can always drop the opacity and the flow down and then just dab this in here just to actually make it look a little better merged in. You know, in there for example, I know that that doesn't look quite right. And then what we do is we're going to again add the hue and saturation mask. We'll select the yellow channel, pull the opacity down, not the opacity, the saturation, and pull the lightness down. And that actually helps see where we need to do some work on the mask. The mask looks definitely wrong around here. So let's select that again, and we will choose a white mask. What have we got in the way of? Let's just drop my hardness down a little bit. Just going to dab in here. I'm not going to be super accurate with this. It is a time-consuming process, but it's in this way that we can get from that to that. In fact, I think I've probably gone too far in there. Let's just select the mask, select black. Select the brush. And well, I mean, you know, I can keep going on this all day just to trying to refine it. And of course, if you get to a position where you get an area down there, for example, where you can always try and find something which has roughly the same texture, and you could probably clone that in. So let's just pick the clone tool, make it a little bit smaller. Actually, that's not going to be the right angle. Maybe there. Something like that. And then maybe just to finish this off, I might actually put a gradient map on here again. But this time I'm going to make it not a gradient map. It's not what I wanted. I wanted to do a fill layer, my mistake. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. Let's put a fill layer on here. New fill layer, gradient. We'll make this one a radial. Radial layer. Sorry, radial gradient. I'm just going to cancel this because I need to change the blend mode to linear light, and I'm just going to drop down the opacity quite significantly actually. And let's just double click on that, and what we'll do is we will choose change the color of this to choose something a little bit warmer. And then we can tinker about with this. Say OK to that, and we can then move this light around. Say OK to that, and didn't want that gradient map in there. Let's get rid of you. Yeah, there we go. That's probably too strong. Let's reduce this again. We can do this by pulling the opacity down even more. And there we go, we've got a nice, quite subtle spotlight on his face. And that's the second version. This is a quite difficult thing to mask, because you know this fare is quite well furry. You know, there's a couple of areas down here that I might want to bring back in again. Go down in here, select my brush, and I might just brush this back in again down here. And there we go. I mean, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, unfortunately. You know, because this is a complicated thing to mask. But there you go. You know, we've taken it from this photo to this photo. Is it perfect? No, it's not. It would be a lot easier to do this on the raw file. Well, I say easier. It'd be a lot more effective on the raw file. But there you go. Anyway, that's how to do advanced cloning on a complicated subject.